Oh boy, hello everyone. DSP here. Today's not a good day. Unfortunately, I had the very bad fortune of trying out a game this week that I actually felt not only could I not play any more than just a few hours, but I had to make a special video, which I almost never do, to tell you how bad it is. Now, normally I would review the game, but this game is so bad, I wouldn't classify this video as a review because I refuse to play it anymore. It's that bad of a game. The fact that this game is not only existing in the year of 2015, but the fact that this game was released for $60 retail dollars is fucking mind-bogglingly, numbingly, meltingly infuriating. I mean, I've played some bad games in the past, some buggy games, some shitty games. At least usually at the core of all of those experiences, there's something called effort. Meaning at least maybe there was the idea of something great and it went wrong somewhere along the lines of game development. This is not the case with the game we're about to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to get this off my chest. The game we're going to be talking about is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. And let me tell you something, before I even show you the game, maybe I should have had a feeling, a bad feeling about this game when I left GameStop, took this game out of its bag when I walked into my house, and I heard this. And no, I'm not doctoring that. This is not something that I fabricated. This is what I heard when I walked into my house. I said, uh-oh, that's not good. So, of course, I opened up the game box immediately to find the game disc completely loose, the plastic pieces broken off from the center of the game box, and the disc going wild inside. Now, luckily, this thing isn't too prone to scratches, and the game did work fine, but I guess that was just a bad omen, right? Not saying, obviously not saying necessarily that the game developers had anything to do with a malfunctioning box, but maybe I should have taken that as a bad sign. So I put Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 into my PlayStation 4. The game immediately starts installing onto the hard drive. Takes maybe roughly 30 seconds to a minute. Then all of a sudden you get the pop-up that says, oh, there's a day one patch. Okay, in this day and age, there's always day one patches for video games, right? Of course, usually the day one patch isn't twice the fucking size of what was on the disc. Yeah, this game disc has about 4 gigabytes of content on it, including the introductory tutorials, the ability to make your own skate park, and like 1 level. That's it. The rest of the game is a downloadable patch that you need to be connected to PlayStation Network to get, and it's twice the size. This disc is 4 gigabytes of data. It's an 8 gigabyte patch to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. So not only do you need 12 gigs on your fucking PlayStation 4, but you need to have about an hour's worth of time if you have fast internet to even get the game to update to be able to be played. So as I'm downloading this insano large patch, which is unacceptable in my opinion, if you're going to buy the physical disc, the game should be on the fucking disc, I get a pre-order code for pre-ordering this game at GameStop. So I say, okay, great, what is it? It's supposed to be a 1980s pack, whatever that means. Maybe it means there'll be like cool 80s style clothing, neon shit, or maybe some skaters from the 80s, who knows. I put the code into my PlayStation 4, and I get an error message. This code is invalid or has already been used. Well, I'm pretty sure that between the time when that code printed out on my fucking receipt at GameStop and I got home, no one grabbed the code and entered it into PlayStation Network. So, again, another bad sign about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. All those things are kind of superfluous, bad, omens, but let's actually talk about Pro Skater 5. First of all, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. So, wow, it's been a long time since we had an official numbered entry in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series. There's been other spin-offs and stuff, but we haven't had an actual sequel in the line of games in quite some time. And you might say, wow, if they're bringing it back in 2015, it must mean that they have something really awesome to offer. They're bringing back this series with an official numbered entry. They're not even saying it's a spin-off. This is going to be a good one, right? Yeah, right. So, the way I'm thinking is, geez, Tony Hawk is 47 years old now, right? I mean, the first question I have to ask is, why are they bringing back Pro Skater? is skating popular all of a sudden? I mean, I remember in the 90s there was this big X Games kind of extreme sports movement where skateboarding and rollerblading and snowboarding and all that got really popular. And that was like 15 or 20 years ago. And yeah, there was a very popular time when this stuff was cool, but it's not 2015. In fact, I'd say this stuff is way on the decline. I haven't heard from any of these guys from skateboarding or anything in a long ass time. Not to say that I'm in, you know, the loop of all those communities, but unless you're a big fan of this stuff, you probably haven't heard from skating in a long time. So why choose 2015 to be the year when they make a new pro skater? Well, I'm going to have the answer to that near the end of this video. So you boot up Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, immediately you're treated to this cool intro vignette of all these skaters. These are apparently the new blood, the new generation of skaters, you know, of 2015 who are now in this game, and they must be really happy to finally be in the game and stuff like that. Awesome. You get to play as real skaters. So you select a skater right off the bat. Once you selected a skater, you go into the game modes, which is play the game right away, just jump right in, or you could do a create your own kind of skate park. So if you like to do that kind of stuff, awesome. There's also an online mode, which is kind of a free skate mode, where you can show up in a lobby with a bunch of other people, and you're just free to skate around and do whatever you want, do tricks or whatever, interact. And that's kind of neat. But ultimately, the meat of the game, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be, you know, in the campaign where you're going to probably go through this cool thing of challenges and story, and what's this game going to offer me? So you go to play the game in single player, and you realize very quickly that there's a lot of locked content in the game. Okay, there's only one skate park available for me right now. Alright, I'll do the tutorial. And so you'll go through the tutorial, which will last you maybe around 20 minutes of going through the basics of skating. And quite honestly, I don't have much, if anything, to complain about in the tutorial. It's very straightforward. It makes a lot of sense. There was only one time when I think I got confused a little bit, but I figured it out. And ultimately, it's a good way to explain the game mechanics to you. So I actually think the tutorial of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 is done pretty well. Then you actually start playing the game, which throws you into a skate park with other skaters in the park with you, so other real humans who are all connected online. If you're not connected to the internet, it's just a completely empty park, which could be kind of devoid of any kind of fun because you don't see any kind of interactivity. There's no NPCs, nothing like that. It's all just other humans actually playing in these stages. So once you're in the skate park, you have certain options of things that you can do. And those who played the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater games back in the 1990s are immediately going to recognize, wow, these things look familiar. I could collect the letters to the word skate. I could collect these other things throughout the stage that are hidden. Or I could do a series of challenging missions, such as grinding and doing tricks while you're grinding, or you know, trying to get a certain kind of aerial jump trick, or doing what Tony says when Tony actually tells you to do certain tricks. Ultimately, some of these challenges are kind of ridiculous and silly, like trying to clear out a swimming pool full of insanely huge beach balls, and you're like, where the fuck did they find beach balls that big, and why is Tony Hawk doing this? Isn't this kind of silly and cartoonish? Kind of bizarre. Or how about collecting ice cream cones? Yeah, Tony Hawk, the 47-year-old world-famous pro skater, collecting ice cream cones. Okay. So ultimately, you go through these stages and you're trying to do as best you can. And you're graded on a scoring system, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 stars, depending on how well you do on these missions. As you earn stars, you're able to unlock further stages. You need to get 15 stars to unlock the next skate park. Each stage, at minimum, if you complete it, will give you 1 star. If you do pretty good at it, it will give you 2 stars. And if you master it, it will give you 3 stars. Ultimately, I found that a lot of these stages are actually quite difficult to get a 3-star, while others are very easy. So you're going to go through the stages looking for one that's really easy to get 3 stars and kind of cheese the game by maybe not even doing the hardest challenges. Now, you might say to yourself, but what about those skate letters and those other hidden items and things to collect? They really do absolutely nothing for game progression. You don't actually get anything for collecting those inside of game progression of unlocking stages. I don't know if you get other items for them. The game never explains that. So after I found out all these items, I collected all of them, I realized nothing happened, and I'm like, so there was no point in fucking doing it. And there wasn't. So ultimately, you're going to replay these stages over and over and over, maybe getting a little bit frustrated because some of them are a little annoying, especially if you don't really play a lot of skating games, until finally you earn 15 stars. And as you're doing this, you're going to realize, gee, these graphics, just something wrong with them. It almost looks like this game could have been on the last-gen console, because, quite honestly, it could have. The graphics of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 are absolutely nothing to write home about. They're almost kind of cel-shaded to a point. There's this weird outline around all the characters that makes them kind of look cel-shaded. There's not a lot of detail. The models certainly don't react very realistically. I think really the best looking thing is when Tony Hawk, this 47-year-old guy, takes a fucking spill and you think he just broke his back and he'll never skate again. That's pretty much the most enjoyment you're going to get out of it. The game runs at 60 frames per second, kind of. It sometimes does and sometimes doesn't, depending on what's going on. A lot of the times, if you're in the skate park with a bunch of these other people around you, then you're going to have a lower frame rate. And especially if you're in a stage with a lot going on, the frame rate starts to stutter and chug. And that really is annoying that you bought a game on the next-gen console for 60 bucks, and even though the graphics aren't great, the game still can't run at a consistent 60 frames per second. That's pretty ridiculous. So once you finally grind enough to get 15 stars, you're going to unlock the second skate park, which is the beach. Wow, awesome. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of original and fun kind of content on the beach, right? Not really, because it's exactly the same as it was in the first skate park. You have a series of challenges to complete, some of which seem to be oddly identical, like collect voodoo dolls instead of ice cream cones, collect marshmallows instead of ice cream cones. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of repetition when it comes to some of these missions. Of course, there will be just do regular skating and try to get a certain amount of points. Maybe on certain stages, do a special jump and get a certain amount of points. But for the most part, it's the same kind of missions again. So again, you'll try to play it, you'll try to get 15 stars, and I'll be honest, on the second stage, it's a lot harder to get 15 stars than on the first. Some of these missions are a lot more difficult, especially when you're trying to follow a certain path and hit certain dots and do certain tricks along a certain set route and stuff like that. But I actually liked a few stages here. I actually liked, there's a stage where you could do a kickflip, and then you shoot missiles and you hit targets. That was actually kind of fun, and I was able to 3-star that particular one. So after grinding another hour or so on the second stage, you'll finally unlock the third one, which is a schoolyard. Great. You're at the schoolyard, and you realize it's the same thing again. In fact, it even goes back to some of the original missions from the first stage, including knock balls out of a pool. And you're like, are you fucking for real? Yeah. It's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. Has no story whatsoever, has no campaign whatsoever. All you do is a series of repetitive, boring, and ultimately unfulfilling mini quests and mini side games in order to just get enough stars to unlock the next stage, and that's the game. The only other feature is to create your own skate park, which I'm sure not everyone who buys the game, it wants to be a level designer. So ultimately, you paid $60 for mini games, and that's the entire fucking game. Now, I already know there's going to be some people who are fans of Tony Hawk who will say, but Phil, Tony Hawk, the original Pro Skater games of the 90s, that's what it was. It was you collecting the skate letters and doing these challenges, you would unlock the next stage, etc., etc. So, what are you really complaining about? To which I answer, nothing if I were playing this game in the 1990s on the PlayStation 1. The problem is, this genre has now been around for 20 years. It's been well defined. We've seen many games go above and beyond what Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 does. In fact, if anything, this game seems like the game developer said, well, we need to make a game really quick for whatever reason, and we don't want to put any kind of fucking effort or development time into it. What can we do? And someone said, well, how about we just make a game that's exactly the same as the original games from the 1990s? Okay, so we won't improve graphics, we won't improve controls, we won't actually put anything original into the game, we'll only put about 15 mini-games in it and slap it together and sell it for 60 bucks. Sounds like a good idea. And that's actually literally what Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 is. No effort, no originality. There's been so many better skating games. I played one a few years ago called Skate 3 that I sucked at, but that thing was infinitely better than this fucking stinky dog turd. This game should never have fucking been created. It's not 1995 anymore. It's 2015. This is a shameless cash-in, and the game developers, you know, Activision, of course, the publisher, and Robomodo, and Disruptive Games, who actually made the game, should be fucking ashamed. They should never be hired to make another game, because this game is the epitome of a fucking ripoff. It's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. No, it's Tony Hawk rehash bullshit, pretend it's a new game, and sell it for 60 bucks. So I actually did some research. How could this game exist? How could it really have no content, have no story, no campaign, no real multiplayer, just doing repetitive challenges over and over? And I found out, get this, Activision is losing the license to Tony Hawk. They only had a few months left this year in order to put out another Tony Hawk game, and based off of the success of the past Tony Hawk games, they said, gee, if we rush out a stinky fucking piece of crap, people will buy it just because it says Tony Hawk. And maybe someone inside said, but if we just say Tony Hawk and name it some spin-off like Wasteland or Project 8, people might not trust that it's a good new franchise. So what do? And some fucking executive bigwig at Activision says, I know what we do. We call it Pro Skater 5 to make people think it's actually an advancement of the existing classically rated, really highly regarded series, and we'll get name recognition and make money off of it instead of actually having any kind of fucking quality product. And that's exactly what this fucking piece of shit is. I actually don't want to trade in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 because I don't want to have anyone ever make the mistake of buying this fucking game again. It's a fucking piece of shit. It's a shameless cash-in. Everyone involved in the game development of this game should be ashamed. And what a shame for the skaters, right, who've been waiting for a game to put their name on and say, wow, I could be a part of, that they chose this fucking piece of shit to be in. What an embarrassment. Do not buy Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. It's a stinky piece of shit. I can't even review it because I can't bring myself to play it anymore to get further in the game to give you an official review. I can just tell you that it's a fucking piece of garbage. Fuck those assholes for ever fucking making it. Don't buy Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your money. And in this day and age, 2015, that this game is being sold for $60 is a fucking crime. God damn it. That game pisses me the fuck off, and I'm glad that I got it off my fucking chest that this piece of shit is never fucking played again by anyone. If you want to see the real rage that I felt, watch the videos when I played this game. It fucking sucks, and they're all live here on DSPGaming. Alright, that is it for this. I don't even know what the fuck you want to call it, a fucking hate bomb or whatever. I did not like this game. Do not fucking play it. It's a piece of shit. Save yourself some money. That's it, everyone. Thanks for watching. See you later. And fucking stay away from this like the bubonic fucking plague.